Some of the challenges of living in a historic home are that some of the components, the building components of the house, are a little older than what you would have in a new build home. So any renovations or any upgrades that you want to do, you certainly have to think twice about what or who you have come in to work on it, and be extra careful with some of the items or the components of the building that you have to work with. One of the challenges that we had when we renovated the house was particularly the upstairs. It was completely empty. There were a lot of pieces of wood that wouldn't really meet code, obviously, and there were a few other things that we had to work around for sure. That is definitely the biggest challenge that we faced. Some of the opportunities that we had in recreating the spaces were that we were able to build to the roof line in a lot of places upstairs, and in doing so created some nooks and crannies in the upstairs that most people wouldn't be able to take full advantage of in other houses. The way the house was constructed with the dormers upstairs, the size of the windows, and the spaces upstairs in general were unique in the way that we were able to build. The primary example of what we were able to accomplish in the renovation upstairs was the bathroom space. It was a challenge to fit all of the bathroom components into that space. However, we did purchase the house in hopes of adding a clawfoot bathtub where it currently sits. So when we looked at the house first, we poked our heads upstairs, saw the massive window that faced the front of the street, and envisioned having a bathtub in that space, and we're able to put that there. And then some of the other spaces that really stand out to me are the nooks in the dormers, where I was able to put a small office space in one. My wife was able to have extra storage for clothes. We just really utilized the roof line to our advantage in adding all those extra spaces. Some of the new spaces that we created downstairs particularly came from when we added the staircase, which was not here when we first moved into the house. The developers that revamped the house, a few decades ago, decided to close off the upstairs, not having any direct access to that area. So to be able to fully build out that space, we had to add a staircase. In adding the staircase, it actually created an opportunity for us to add a small reading nook in our son's room, which could be used for storage in the future or some other type of use, depending on who's living in that room at the time. We changed the kitchen dramatically. We did a complete facelift on it, new floors, new counters. My wife and I actually sanded and painted the cabinets, which turned out pretty good. We had to paint all the walls. We did most of the plumbing ourselves. We did most of the electric work ourselves. So it was a real hands-on experience in home ownership in the beginning, but I think it turned out pretty good.
Some of my favorite spaces in the house are the upstairs, obviously. It's our master suite, our master oasis up there. But I also really enjoy the playroom. It was formerly our master bedroom, and now it's just a great space for the boys to have all of their stuff, and they also have a bathroom in there that they can junk up, and we don't have to worry about it.
Some of the advantages of living in a historic space are that you have the angles of the house that create viewpoints and open spaces. So if someone were to request an open space concept for their new build home, well, technically it's already in a historic home in many cases. Particularly with this house, it has a long galley style kitchen to living space where you can see one end of the house from the other, kind of an opposite of a shotgun house, I guess. And then the bedroom spaces on the back side, they've already added in a significant amount of space in the floor plan itself. The woodworking is much larger in a lot of the spaces. The trim, the floorboards, a lot of the old historic components of the house are much larger and giving an advantage of living in a historic home for sure.
Yeah, I think another advantage for us was the ceiling height, because him being 6'5", there were a lot of houses we looked at and walked in that it was just felt so small. So the high ceilings and, like he said, the moldings that are so thick are very nice. And the bedroom sizes all the bedrooms are big. The closets in the bedrooms are big, which is rare. So those were definitely some advantages we found.
My advice for someone who's looking for a historic home to renovate, refurbish, live in, to look for the large components, the most expensive components of the house. So when we bought this house, the first thing I looked at was the foundation, the floorboards. I checked on the HVAC, I checked on the roof, I checked the electric and the plumbing, and really started to add up the total amount of dollars that we would have to put in to make this house livable, safe, and up to code with what the city has for us. Thankfully, we had a lot of that work done for us. There was a lot left over that we did have to do. However, some of the large, big ticket items were taken care of and were in reasonably good shape, which allowed us to accelerate the renovation a lot faster than what you would typically have. But if you have a house that doesn't have a lot of those things, it's still completely doable as long as it's within the realm of your budget, and of course within the asking price of the home and what it's going to be worth when it's all said and done, when you're done with the renovation. So we got lucky in that sense for sure. For this particular home, being a historic home and living in it, we really love the location. The historic homes are typically going to be, especially the ones that are worth saving or have been saved, are in locations that are close and walking distance to a lot of downtown activities or commercial hubs where you can walk to a lot of the things that you want to get to. Especially with our young family, there's a lot of really great things that downtown Greensboro has to offer us particularly. So that's probably my favorite thing about this house. And beyond that, I think it's just the look. It's a clean look. You can make it look as clean as you want it to. You can make it look as modern as you want it to, and still have some of that historic vibe that makes it really, desirable from a historic home's point.